Stop. Before you keep scrolling, sit with this for 1 second. Japan was hit by nuclear bombs, flattened by earthquakes, devastated by tsunamis, and completely destroyed in World War II. They had nothing. No oil, almost no natural resources, barely any arable land, a population that was starving. Within 40 years, they became the second largest economy on the planet. Within 60 years, they had more millionaires per capita than almost any country on Earth. And here's what nobody talks about. You still can't see the wealth. No Lamborghinis cruising through Tokyo, no gold-plated apartments, no Instagram flexing. Just quiet, invisible, generational wealth, building silently while the rest of the world screams about how rich it is while going broke. Meanwhile, 78% of American workers live paycheck to paycheck. The average American has less than $1,000 in savings. Credit card debt just hit an all-time record of $1.13 trillion. People are working 2 and 3 jobs, 50, 60, 70 hours a week, and still one emergency away from total financial collapse. Same planet, completely different outcomes. What is Japan actually doing that the rest of the world has completely missed? It's not a secret investing formula. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's 9 daily habits, 9 ancient philosophies practiced for centuries that compound into extraordinary wealth over time. They don't require more income. They don't require a perfect economy. They just require you to start, today. Stick around because I'm breaking down all 9. And the last one completely changed how I think about money. If you're tired of the loud, broke lifestyle, hit subscribe and drop quiet wealth in the comments. If you're ready to start small changes, drop Kaizen below. Let's go. In 1904, a journalist named Motoko Hani published a radical idea in a Japanese women's magazine. Write down every single expense, by hand, every day. She called it Kakeibo, household financial ledger. More than 120 years later, millions of Japanese households still do this. Not because they have to, because they know it works. Here's what's wild. When I ask most people in the West where their money went last month, I get the same answer every time. I honestly don't know. It just disappeared. And that's not laziness or stupidity. That's what happens when your brain is processing thousands of micro decisions every day without any system. The money leaks out through subscription services you forgot about, impulse coffees that feel harmless, late-night DoorDash orders, and dozens of tiny purchases that each feel totally justified, but collectively swallow your paycheck whole. The average American spends $18,000 a year on non-essential purchases. $18,000, gone without conscious decision. Kakeibo fixes this with one mechanism: forced awareness. You write every purchase in 4 categories: survival, rent, groceries, utilities; optional, streaming, restaurants, things you want but don't need; culture, books, experiences, things that genuinely enrich your life; and the 4th, most uncomfortable one, extra, the why did I even buy this category. Impulse purchases, stress buys, the things your brain approved before the rest of you could object. Studies show that people who write down their expenses spend 15 to 20% less automatically, not from restriction, just from awareness. There's an ancient saying, the palest ink is better than the best memory. When you write it, you see it. When you see it, you can't unsee it. That discomfort, seeing what you actually spent versus what you thought you spent, is where transformation begins. Kakeibo also asks 4 monthly questions. How much money do I have? How much do I want to save? How much am I spending? And the key one, how can I improve? Not, how can I be perfect? Just, improve. 1% better. That's the entire ask. What to do tonight? Buy a $2 notebook, not an app. The physical act of writing creates stronger neural encoding than typing. When typed, it's data. When written by hand, it becomes real. For 30 days, write every purchase within 24 hours. Categorize. Review weekly. Don't judge, just see. A woman I know started Kakeibo after years of wondering where her money went. In the first month, she found $400 in forgotten subscriptions, a meditation app downloaded once and never opened, a language platform used for 2 weeks, a VPN she set up and forgot. She found $300 in late-night food impulses that happened almost entirely after 8 p.m., and $200 in digital purchases she didn't remember making. She didn't cancel everything immediately. She just became aware. 6 months later, she had saved $4,000. Year 1, a $10,000 emergency fund for the first time in her adult life. Same income, completely different awareness. You can't fix what you can't see. Write it down. See the truth. The pattern changes on its own. Americans waste 30 to 40% of all the food they buy. You work for that money, carry the groceries home, and throw nearly half of it in the trash. That's not just a food problem. That's a wealth problem. Your future savings decomposing in a landfill. And food is only the beginning. The average American throws away over 65 pounds of clothing per year. We buy gadgets, use them twice, and shove them into closets. Something breaks? If it's under $100, it often feels easier to just buy new. The disposable mindset has become so deeply wired into Western culture that most people don't even notice it anymore. It's just how things are. But every wasted item represents something more precious than money. It represents time. The hours of your life you traded to earn that money, now sitting in a dumpster. And once you truly internalize that, once you connect the object in the trash to the hours of your life that paid for it, the equation changes permanently. The Japanese concept for this is Mottainai. There's no clean English translation because English was never built around this idea. It means something like regret over waste, combined with deep respect for resources. It's not just environmental, it's spiritual and financial at the same time. The philosophy comes from Buddhist principles over 1,000 years old. Everything has inherent value. When you waste something, you disrespect the labor, the nature, and the energy that created it. You disrespect your own work that paid for it. Here's the math most people never run. Food waste alone, $1,500 to $2,000 annually per household according to the USDA. Unused purchases, clothes worn once, gadgets abandoned, tools bought for one project. Easily another $2,000 to $4,000 a year. Total preventable waste in a typical American household, $4,000 to $6,000 per year. Invested at 8% for 30 years, $5,000 a year becomes $611,000. That's a retirement, sitting in the trash. The Mottainai practice runs on 4 pillars. Reduce. Buy only what you'll use completely. Reuse. Before discarding, ask if it can serve another purpose. Recycle. Creatively repurpose, not just the blue bin. Repair. Because fixing is almost always cheaper than replacing. One practical question to use before every non-essential purchase. Will I use this completely? Not just, will I use this? Completely. That one word shifts the calculation entirely. A guy I know cleaned out his garage and found $2,000 in tools used once, $3,000 in clothes with tags still on, and boxes of unopened kitchen gadgets. Total unused purchases in that garage alone, over $8,000. $8,000 sitting in boxes, slowly becoming worthless. He started Mottainai, 30-day waiting period before buying anything. Use everything he already owned first. Repair before replacing. A year later, he had saved $6,000 without earning a dollar more. Wealth isn't just what you earn, it's what you keep and use fully. Waste is theft from your future self. Respect what you have, and watch the money you were hemorrhaging start pooling into something real. Here's how most people destroy their own financial future with the best intentions. January 1st, save 30% immediately, meal prep every week, cancel every subscription, stop eating out, build a side hustle. All at once. Starting Monday. By Friday, it's over. Shame spiral. I can't stick to anything. I'm just bad with money. This isn't a willpower problem. It's a strategy problem. Dramatic change is biologically unsustainable. Your nervous system resists massive sudden disruption. It's a feature, not a bug. But it means every attempt to overhaul everything at once is a fight against your own biology, and your biology will win. The Japanese discovered something completely different and built one of the most successful economies in history on its back, Kaizen. Kai means change. Zen means good. Together, continuous small improvement. This isn't a self-help buzzword. It's the operating system behind Toyota, the philosophy that turned a small post-war Japanese car company into the world's most valuable automobile manufacturer. Toyota engineers don't revolutionize the assembly line once a year. They make tiny improvements every single day. One better hand movement. 1 second of wasted motion eliminated. A bolt positioned 2 inches closer to save a single reach. And those tiny improvements, sustained over decades, became the gold standard of manufacturing worldwide. The same principle applied to your finances will produce the same compounding results. Here's the math. 1% better every single day compounds to 37 times better by year's end. 37 times. You don't need to become a radically different person overnight. You just need to be 1% better today than yesterday. The flip side is equally brutal. 1% worse daily, and you're at roughly 3% of your capacity by year end. That's what slow financial decline looks like. Not a crash, just a quiet, persistent slide, compounding in the wrong direction. Small changes aren't small, they're everything. Applied to money, Kaizen is almost insultingly simple. Week 1, save $10 automatically. Not $100, $10. Week 2, $15. Week 3, $20. Increase by $5 each week until you hit a number that stretches you slightly, then hold there for a month before increasing again. You're not cutting your lifestyle in half. You're ratcheting up by amounts your brain barely notices, until one day you look back and realize you've built a savings habit that feels completely natural. The coffee math people love to hate. $5 coffee, 5 days a week, $1,300 a year. Make it at home 4 out of 5 days. Save $1,040. Invest at 8% for 20 years, $52,000. From one tiny habit, one decision compounded. I know a woman who came to me absolutely defeated. She couldn't save anything. Her income barely covered expenses. She felt like she was already trying as hard as she could. I asked her to try one thing: save $1 a day. Auto transfer. That was it. She looked at me like I was wasting her time. She did it anyway. Year 1, $2,500 saved. She increased to $5 daily, then $15. 5 years later, a $35,000 emergency fund started from $1 a day. Tiny changes sustained beat massive changes abandoned every single time. Progress isn't perfection. Better beats perfect. Start so small you literally cannot fail, and let compound math do the rest. Most people talk about money as an earning problem. If I just made more, everything would be fine. But there's a different financial drain nobody talks about. One bleeding millions of people dry right now, quietly and consistently. The cost of hating your work. Think about the last brutal week at a job you couldn't stand. What did you do at the end of it? You probably ordered food you didn't need, bought something online you'd been scrolling past, went out and spent more than planned because you deserved it. Maybe booked a slightly too expensive trip because you needed something to look forward to, something to survive to. This is compensatory spending, what behavioral economists have documented as the predictable, consistent result of emotional depletion. When your tank is drained by meaningless work, your brain demands refilling, and the fastest way it knows how is to spend. Retail therapy, stress eating, revenge vacations, impulse purchases. None of these are moral failures. They're psychological responses to misalignment between who you are and what you're doing. The Japanese antidote is Ikigai, pronounced Ikigai. It translates roughly as reason for being. And it's not poetic abstraction. It's a practical framework built on 4 questions. What do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? What can you be paid for? When all 4 overlap, that's your Ikigai. Not just your dream career, your lowest cost lifestyle. Because when you love Monday, you don't need to medicate the pain of Sunday night. In Okinawa, a blue zone where people routinely live past 100, they don't have a word for retirement in the Western sense. Stopping the thing that gives your life meaning at 65 is genuinely incomprehensible to them. And research shows they live longer with dramatically lower rates of depression, anxiety, and chronic illness than populations who retire from meaningful work to idle dissatisfaction. Studies consistently show that disengaged workers spend $5,000 to $15,000 more per year on compensatory behaviors than people who find meaning in what they do. Spending that quietly evaporates when the underlying stress is addressed. Wrong path. High-paying job you hate. $11,000 a year in coping expenses. Trapped in golden handcuffs. Right path. Aligned work. Even if it pays less initially, leads to minimal compensatory spending, leads to lower cost of living, leads to real savings, leads to real wealth. And income tends to grow faster when you love what you do. You're more creative, more productive, more willing to get better. The compounding runs in both directions. A guy I know was earning $80,000 in corporate finance. On paper, impressive. In reality, miserable. His annual compensatory spending, vacations, shopping, expensive dinners, gadgets, clothes that made him feel temporarily less trapped, came to over $11,000 a year. He took a teaching job for $45,000. His friends thought he'd lost his mind. Within a year, coping spending had dropped to nearly zero. By year 3, between teaching and a side project he built with his reclaimed energy, he was making $60,000 and saving $15,000 annually. At $80,000, he'd been saving almost nothing. Your work isn't just your income, it's your spending driver. The more misaligned your work with your purpose, the more expensive your life becomes. Find your Ikigai, even as a slow transition, even as a side project, and watch the financial picture transform. When did you last look at what you already own and think, this is beautiful, this is actually enough? If you struggled to answer that, you're not alone. You've been trained not to feel that way. Social media has engineered dissatisfaction at industrial scale. Every scroll serves you someone else's renovation reveal, their new car, their perfectly curated kitchen with the artisan coffee station and the $300 linen curtains. The algorithm knows that comparison creates craving, craving creates engagement, and engagement generates revenue. You are, in the most literal sense, being monetized through your own dissatisfaction. The result? A home renovation industry worth over $500 billion annually. A fast fashion machine that made disposable clothing a lifestyle. A consumer culture built entirely on the idea that what you have is never quite enough. The Japanese philosophy of Wabi-Sabi is the direct antidote, finding beauty in imperfection, not in spite of imperfection, in it. Aged wood has character, cracked pottery tells a story. A simple, uncluttered home isn't sparse, it's deliberately peaceful. An asymmetrical garden isn't unkempt, it's alive. Applied to your actual life, that scratch on your dining table isn't a flaw that needs sanding and refinishing. It's from the birthday dinner where someone knocked over the candle and everyone laughed. That older car that starts reliably every morning isn't embarrassing, it's paid off. That simple home that isn't Pinterest perfect isn't inadequate. It's lived in. It's yours. It's enough. The spending Wabi-Sabi prevents is enormous. Americans spend an average of $9,000 a year on home improvement and renovation. How much of that is genuinely necessary? Safety, functionality, structural integrity. And how much is chasing a vision of perfect that social media keeps moving every 6 months? A couple I know renovated their kitchen twice in 7 years. First renovation, $28,000. Second renovation, another $17,000. Because the first one didn't match the countertop style that became popular afterward. Total spent chasing perfect, $45,000. They discovered Wabi-Sabi. They stopped. They looked at their kitchen and, for the first time, actually saw it. Not against an imaginary standard, but as it was. Good. Functional. Theirs. That $45,000, invested at 7% annual return, would become $174,000 in 20 years. They chose contentment over perfection. That one choice is worth $174,000. Practice this for 30 days. Before buying anything to improve or upgrade something you already own, ask one question. Is this broken, or am I just bored with it? Broken gets fixed or replaced when the numbers make sense. Bored gets explored. Sit with the boredom. Look for beauty in what's already there. In a world that profits from your dissatisfaction, choosing to be satisfied is the most radical financial act available to you, and it costs nothing. The United States has the largest average portion sizes of any developed nation on Earth. We eat until stuffed and unbuttoning our pants because we paid for it, because waste is wrong, because more is always available. We spend a fortune on food, feel terrible, and create health problems that cost even more. The average restaurant meal in America contains 1,200 to 1,500 calories, often double what an adult needs in a single sitting. In Okinawa, home to the highest concentration of centenarians on the planet, where living past 100 is genuinely common. They practice a principle that is over 1,000 years old: Hara Hachi Bu. Eat until 80% full. Stop just before completely satisfied. Not starving, not suffering, comfortably enough. The science explains exactly why this works. It takes approximately 20 minutes for your stomach to signal your brain that it's satisfied. If you eat until you feel stuffed, you've already eaten well past the point of sufficiency. Your brain just hasn't caught up yet. Stopping at 80% means stopping at the actual right time. Studies published in the journals of gerontology found that Okinawans practicing Hara Hachi Bu consistently consume 11 to 19% fewer calories than Americans, without dieting, without counting, without restriction psychology. They just stop slightly earlier. And the compounding effects on health, longevity, and financial cost across a lifetime are extraordinary. But Hara Hachi Bu isn't just about food. It's a philosophy of consumption. And this is where it becomes a genuinely powerful financial tool. The financial version: you don't need 100% of your wants satisfied. 80% satisfaction equals 100% enough. That 20% gap between what you want and what you actually need is where your wealth lives. The last 20% of any purchase or experience almost always costs the most and delivers the least. The extra appetizer. The premium subscription tier when basic was perfectly fine. The vacation hotel upgrade that was $200 more for a view you looked at twice. The additional cart items that pushed you over the free shipping threshold when you didn't actually need them. Financial Hara Hachi Bu. Live on 80% of your paycheck. Save 20% before you see it. Stop adding to the cart when you've reached your planned budget. Not because you can't afford more, but because 80% satisfaction is already 100% enough. Practice stopping. A man I know was spending $800 a month eating out. He started stopping at 80% full, ordering slightly less, eating slower. His restaurant bill dropped to $500, $3,600 a year saved on food alone. Over the same period, he lost 30 pounds. His blood pressure normalized. His energy improved dramatically. His manager noticed, and he received a promotion. One habit. Multiple compounding benefits across health, wealth, and career simultaneously. The 80% rule. For food, for spending, for all consumption. Stop at 80% and watch wealth grow in the gap the last 20% used to fill. We live in the most instant gratification era in human history. Amazon delivers in 2 hours. Netflix loads in 2 seconds. Food arrives in 20 minutes. Dating apps deliver human connection in a swipe. We've engineered every form of waiting out of our daily lives, and it's quietly destroying our ability to build wealth. Because real, lasting wealth is almost entirely built on one skill: the ability to wait. To sit with a want instead of immediately satisfying it. To be uncomfortable for a day, a week, a month, so that your future self can be dramatically more comfortable for decades. This is the psychological foundation of every successful long-term investor. Every person who built generational wealth from modest beginnings. The ability to delay is the ability to compound. The Japanese concept of Gaman, pronounced Gaman, means enduring difficulty with patience and dignity. Not suffering, not martyrdom, endurance. The calm, quiet ability to sit with discomfort without immediately demanding it be removed. After World War II, Japan was physically destroyed. Cities were rubble, infrastructure gone, people starving. Through collective Gaman, aggressive national savings rates, delayed consumption, patient rebuilding, they became an economic superpower within a generation. Not through an abundance of resources, through an abundance of patience, applied consistently. The Stanford marshmallow experiment proved it. Children who could wait 15 minutes for 2 marshmallows grew up with higher SAT scores, stronger careers, lower substance abuse rates, and significantly more wealth. The ability to delay gratification predicts success across nearly every measurable dimension of adult life. Applied to money. Impulse purchases aren't individually catastrophic, they're constant. Every dollar spent on impulse is a dollar that doesn't compound. The $47 Amazon midnight buy, the upgrade you couldn't resist, each feels small. Together, over a lifetime, they are enormous. The Gaman money practice. Every time you want to buy something non-essential, add it to a list. Don't buy it. Wait 30 days. Research shows that 80 to 90% of the time, the desire fades completely. You wanted it in a specific moment, driven by a specific emotion. The moment passed, your money stayed. Also, use discomfort as data, not an emergency. When you feel the urge to spend to cope with stress or boredom, sit with it for 24 hours. Most of the time, it subsides. Spending would have just masked it temporarily. You'd have paid money for a mask. A woman deep in $15,000 of debt from daily impulse purchases. Nothing extravagant, just $30 here, $50 there, hundreds of times a year. Started the 30-day rule. Month 1, she identified 20 things she wanted. At day 30, she genuinely still wanted 2. She bought those 2. Skipped the other 18. Month 1, over $800 in impulse purchases avoided. By year's end, debt gone, savings growing, the cycle permanently broken. Gaman doesn't say never enjoy anything. It says wait long enough to know that what you're buying is what you actually want, not just what you feel right now. That distinction is worth thousands of dollars a year. Practice waiting. Practice sitting with discomfort. Let the urge pass. What remains is worth having. Something breaks in most Western households, and the first thought is, how much to replace it? Not repair, replace. We've been so thoroughly conditioned to treat physical objects as disposable that fixing something can feel almost quaint, old-fashioned, inefficient. Let me show you the actual math, because it's going to make you question everything. Denim jeans, repair for $15 at a tailor or replace for $80. Washing machine, fix the motor for $150 or buy new for $800. Leather shoes, resole for $45 or replace for $200. Laptop, replace the screen for $200 or buy new for $1,200. Car, maintain properly for $2,000 over 5 years or buy new for $40,000 plus interest. At every level, repair is dramatically cheaper. Yet the default response to anything broken is still replacement. The disposable mentality is an ongoing, compounding financial disaster hiding in plain sight. Japanese culture has a philosophy that turns this entirely around. Kintsugi, also written kintsukuroi, the ancient art of repairing broken pottery with gold lacquer. When a bowl or vase breaks, instead of discarding it, the artisan fills the cracks with gold. The result is more beautiful and more valuable than the original. The philosophy: breakage and repair are part of the object's history, not the end of its usefulness. Applied to your financial life, Kintsugi is a single, powerful directive. Repair first, replace last. Maintenance over replacement, restoration over disposal. When you invest care in repairing something, you develop pride in it, a sense of real ownership. Repaired items get used more fully and last longer. The repaired item carries a story. The replaced item starts as neutral and immediately depreciates. The average American household spends $4,000 to $7,000 a year on consumer goods replacement. Items that could have been repaired, maintained, or extended with basic care. Cutting that figure in half through a repair-first mentality saves $2,000 to $3,500 annually. Over 10 years at 8% returns, $52,000 from one mindset shift. A guy I know had his laptop display die. Repair cost, $200. He bought new instead for $1,200. 6 months later, the new one needed a $300 battery repair anyway. He switched to Kintsugi, thinking across everything. Had shoes resoled instead of replaced, $160 saved. Repaired his dryer instead of buying new, $580 saved. Had a jacket tailored and patched instead of replaced, $155 saved. Had his bike tuned up instead of replaced, $340 saved. Year 1 total, $400 spent on repairs, $2,600 in replacements avoided. Net saved, $2,200. One mindset shift. Repair celebrates history. Replacement chases perfection. Perfection is endlessly, exhaustingly expensive. History is yours, already paid for, already complete, already more beautiful than you're giving it credit for. This is the one, the habit I warned you about at the start, the most powerful of all. Because it's not about spending or saving or budgeting. It's the mental framework that either enables or destroys every other habit on this list. Americans spend enormous energy on things they cannot control. The economy, inflation, what your coworker earns, what your neighbor just bought, where you grew up, what your parents had or didn't have, the bad investment 3 years ago, the job you didn't get, the opportunity that passed, the beginning you didn't choose. And then they spend money to manage the anxiety, retail therapy for economic stress, expensive experiences to cope with feeling left behind, impulse purchases to silence the feeling of not being enough. Researchers at Harvard Medical School found that people who frequently compare themselves to others make more impulsive purchases, save less, and report dramatically lower financial satisfaction, even at higher incomes. You cannot out-earn comparison. The goalpost always moves. The Japanese concept of shoganai, pronounced shoganai, translates literally as "it cannot be helped." In English, that sounds defeatist. In Japanese culture, it's the opposite. It's strategic acceptance, the precise, deliberate act of releasing what you cannot control so that you can pour your complete energy into what you can. Shoganai is not "nothing matters." Shoganai is "I cannot change this. I will not waste my finite energy fighting it. I will direct that energy somewhere it can actually make a difference." You cannot control where you started financially. Shoganai. You cannot control other people's head starts or inherited advantages. Shoganai. You cannot control past financial decisions already made. Shoganai. You cannot control inflation, markets, or global economic forces. Shoganai. But you can control what you spend today, what you save today, what habit you practice today, what you learn today. Every single dollar of wealth ever built in the history of human civilization was built in that controllable space, the daily choices. That's where your power lives. That is the only place it has ever lived. I know a woman who was trapped in constant comparison and stress spending. She scrolled social media 2 to 3 hours a day, comparing her apartment to others, her salary to friends who'd taken different paths, her life to the curated highlight reels of strangers. Every time the comparison stung, which was constantly, she spent. An outfit to feel better, a dinner she couldn't afford to feel like she was keeping up, a vacation on credit because she felt left behind and needed proof she wasn't. Her stress spending, purchases directly triggered by comparison and social anxiety, averaged $600 a month. She started practicing shoganai, accepted what she couldn't change, deleted social media from her phone, stopped comparing, focused entirely on her own daily choices, her spending, her savings, her habits. That $600 went to savings. Year 1, $7,200. Year 3, $25,000 in the bank. No raise, no windfall, no luck. Just energy redirected from what she couldn't control to what she could. Comparison is theft. Every minute you spend measuring your life against someone else's is a minute stolen from building your own. Stress spending is expensive. The anxiety it medicates doesn't go away with purchases. It comes back, and it brings a credit card bill. Peace with your path is free, and peace with your path is the only place from which real, lasting, quiet wealth is ever actually built. Let me bring all 9 together in one breath. Kakeibo, write every dollar down. Make the invisible visible. Awareness alone reduces spending 15 to 20%. You can't fix what you can't see, and you can't unsee what you've finally written down. Mottainai, zero waste. Every dollar wasted is your future self being robbed. Buy quality. Use it fully. Repair before replacing. $5,000 a year in prevented waste, compounded over 30 years at 8%, is $611,000. Kaizen, 1% better every day. Start so small, it feels pointless. Compound it daily. By year's end, you're 37 times better. That's mathematics, not motivation, and it doesn't care how you feel about it. Ikigai. Purpose is your cheapest lifestyle. When you love Monday, you don't need to medicate Sunday night. Eliminate the stress spending that hate generates, and the financial picture transforms without a single raise. Wabi-Sabi. Contentment is radical. In a world that profits from your dissatisfaction, choosing to be satisfied is resistance. Stop the renovation cycle. What you have is enough. Find the beauty there. It costs nothing and saves everything. Hara Hachi Bu. Stop at 80%. For food, for spending, for all consumption. The last 20% always costs the most and delivers the least. Wealth grows in the gap. Gaman. Learn to wait. The ability to delay gratification is the single most powerful wealth-building skill that exists. Practice the 30-day rule. Let the urge pass. What remains is worth having. Kintsugi. Repair first, replace last. Treat what you own as worth caring for. Every repair is dollars saved and a relationship deepened with what you already have. Shoganai. Accept what you cannot change. Release the uncontrollable. Pour everything into your daily choices. That's where your power lives. That is the only place wealth is ever built. 9 habits. No luck required. No stress involved. No extraordinary income needed. Just ancient wisdom, applied consistently, compounding quietly over time. Here's what I need from you right now. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Pick one, just one of these 9. The one that hit you hardest. The one that gave you that uncomfortable, I know I need this feeling. Start there. Start so small, it almost feels pointless. That's exactly right. Small, sustained, compounding is how everything real gets built. Drop the number of the habit you're starting in the comments, 1 through 9. If you're already practicing one, type already doing and tell me which one. That one comment will hold you accountable, and I read every single one. If this video changed how you see money, even one idea, one shift, hit subscribe. There's more of this coming, because Japan built generational wealth from literal ashes, not from luck, not from oil, not from a head start, from 9 daily habits, practiced consistently, compounded over generations. You don't need a catastrophe to start, you just need to start. Choose awareness over ignorance, choose discipline over impulse, choose contentment over comparison, choose patience over instant gratification, choose repair over replacement, choose acceptance over anxiety. Quiet wealth isn't loud, it isn't flashy, it doesn't post on Instagram, it's patient, disciplined, invisible. Until one day, after enough days, enough habits, enough small decisions compounded, it's completely undeniable. That day is available to you. It starts today.